Hi, I'm Chef Ernest Cervantes, and today we'll be doing a spicy arugula and a cherry smoked beet salad with a nice tangy citrus grapefruit vinaigrette. The first thing we need to start off with is, I guess, what you would call the star of the show is our beets. And one of the things about choosing beets is I have two different versions here. If you can see, one's a little bit bigger and one's a nice little rounded one. I preferably like the smaller rounded ones, and the reason why is it tends to have more of a sweeter texture than the larger consistent ones that tend to have grown a little bit longer, so they're more fibrous. The reason why I chose beets today is a lot of people think of smoking and barbecuing and grilling has to do with like beef or chicken or fish. You know, you can step outside the box once in a while and say, hey, look, what's easy and consistent like that? I always think of beets as meat. And we're going to be smoking with cherrywood today, so cherrywood loves beets as much as it loves beef. So this is what we're going to start off with. I like to use the nice little rounded ones because this one always tells me, you know, chef, this is only going to take about 2 hours smoking. Once you infuse a smoke flavor into this, I kid you not, you think you're eating a nice piece of beef. So what we're going to do first is we're going to just basically brush it with a little bit of olive oil. And we don't want to put too much. All we're doing is moistening the skin. And the only reason we wanted to moisten the skin so it won't crack, and it keeps it insulated when it's cooking. And you can use a fork. I like a knife because I always have them there. Kind of like when your mom used to make baked potatoes in the microwave. And the reason you do this is it's such a sealed product, you don't want it to tend to explode. It's the last thing you want to do is get beet juice all over your grill. So once you have one or two ready to go, and what we're using today is we'd like to use a good 4 ounces or 6 ounces, depending on how much beets you like. Get them on the grill as soon as possible because this takes the longest to cook. Okay, so what I'm going to be using today with the beets is we're going to use cherry wood. And the reason I like cherry wood so much with this is that cherry is a fruit wood that's mild. It's got a great smoking flavor, but doesn't have so much of a heaviness like a hickory or a mesquite or an oak does. So this is the great thing about using chips in this little canister right here, is that not only can we infuse the flavors of the cherry smoke, but we can use it on the gas source. And what I like to do is just get a good old handful, and I have our trays here. And that's all you need, 2 good handfuls. I like to put them on the same time I'm going to put the beets. The reason why is it takes 2 hours for the beets, so in between then it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to get this thing going. So in between those 20 to 30 minutes it's going to be softening them up and you get the kiss of smoke. I like to put it right here in the corner, but after that I tend to use tongs. Please, and I mean please, don't be grabbing them with your hands unless you have cast iron hands. I usually grab them with the tongs, put them in the left corner. I always like to put it on the opposite side of where I'm going to be putting my protein, or in this case, our beets. A lot of people ask, well, why didn't you soak your chips? The reason why we didn't soak our chips is we want a clean smoke. If you soak the chips, you end up causing steam and vapors, and that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a clean smoke, and it gives it that nice pungent flavor on the beets. Now, sometimes, depending on how hot you have it, I like to cook it medium-high, a good 300 to 275. If you say, hey, chef, I was doing it the other day and it caught on fire, the reason why is either that burner had it too hot or it's too much direct grilling. Something simple. Get yourself a squirt bottle. A little spritz bottle costs you about $1 at the local hardware store, and you just spritz on top, and it prevents that from happening. And if you want to give it more of an intense flavor, the best part about these things is as it diminishes, you can just keep on adding on to it. Each one of these trays lasts about 30 minutes of smoke. So technically, that's all you really need for the beets, but what I love to do is kiss it at the hour and 30 mark, so you've been cooking it for an hour and 30 minutes. I go and add another tray in there for the last 30 minutes to infuse more smoke, just to give it that nice, robust flavor. Okay, so now the beets are taking a nice little smoke bath for the next 2 hours. We're going to work on our citrus vinaigrette. I love using something fresh, something tart, and I love to use a grapefruit. Now, when you're making this vinaigrette, you're more than welcome to change things around. You don't have to have the time. You can change it with basil or tarragon if you like, but the key is to have fresh ingredients. So I'm going to show you the basics and how to make this vinaigrette, and then you can change it if you like. So what we're going to start off with is a little bit of shallots, a little bit of fresh parsley, some fresh thyme. If you use dry thyme, you use 3 parts dry to 1 part fresh. So if you're going to use, if they say a tablespoon of fresh, you need to cut that by a third if you're going to use dry, because it's that pungent. Now get a little bit of ginger. This is what I did was I microplaned the ginger, and this kind of brings out the popness and the tartness from the grapefruit. So if you don't know what ginger looks like, I brought some here. I tend to always use the butt end of this part. I always cut about an inch off the knob, and I use a microplane. It's kind of like a small grater, but it kind of gives it that nice puree look. And last but not least, you need a binder. And the binder that I use is a little bit of Dijon mustard, and a little bit of Dijon mustard goes a long ways. So now we're going to need segments from the grapefruit, as well as we're going to need the juice from the grapefruit. So you peel off the grapefruit and you go around, and you kind of follow it by the rind. I learned this from a chef one time. I thought that was really fancy the way he did this, instead of peeling it the old grandma way by cutting in halves and fours. And what I like to do is, usually when you do this, you always tend to have a lot of meat right here. And this meat has a lot of juices, so I end up squeezing all the juices in there. So you utilize every part of the grapefruit. So you just squeeze away. At the same time, you're not wasting anything, because us chefs like to not waste anything. Okay, so this is the cool part. And if you can see really closely, you can see the veins or the segments of each grapefruit. So what we're going to do is cut segments out. And this is going to be part of our salad. So not only do we have the vinaigrette, we're going to also put grapefruits in it. So you can pretty much go around again like that, and you're just following the segments, and you get these really cool segment pieces. Not only does the grapefruit kind of bring a different texture to your salad, but yes, it brings out a nice presentation. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we all do. We eat with our eyes. So we're going to put these aside. And then we're going to bring up the vinaigrette here. And as you can tell, we have a lot of acidities here. We have a lot of fresh herbs, and people are saying you're not putting any sugar, you're not putting any salt and pepper. I always tend to put that at the end. You know, some people like it a little sweeter, and some people like it a little bit saltier. So what I like to do is I get the olive oil, and we're making our vinaigrette here, and you just basically stir it in there until you get the nice texture that you like. You know, some people think a nice light vinaigrette tastes good. Some people like it a little thinner, and some people like it a little thicker. You want to thin it down if you're saying, well, I'm not a big oil person, can I thin it down? Just put a little water in it, and it comes out a lot smoother. And last but not least, we need to salt and pepper it. And then here comes the sweetness factor. Instead of using sugar or brown sugar, I'm using, I know it's a curveball, but we're using a little bit of maple syrup. And then at the end, it's like when you make any kind of vinaigrette, you have to taste it. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay, so now we're with the vinaigrette. Now what we're going to work on is our crunch factor is pepitas. Just like any other salad, you know, a Cobb salad, a nice spinach salad, you always tend to have that crunch factor. Some people like candied pecans, some almonds, but today we're going to twist it up and give it a little flair here. And we're going to go ahead and do roasted pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds. They have the texture kind of like a pine nut, but yet an almond. So we're going to just pan sear these off. We're going to roast them. Basically, we're going to wake them up. So all I have here is a nice Teflon coated pan. I got it on medium heat right now. And people are saying, you know, hey chef, why do we do this? Why are we going to roast the pepitas? It's kind of like what I say. These guys might have been shucked or shelled maybe 2 months ago, and they kind of get stale. So what we're going to do is eventually kind of wake them up and bring out the oils that you can hear them. And if you can hear it really closely, you can hear them start popping. And what we're doing is we're just basically toasting them, and we're waking them up. And they bring out just an awesome flavor. It's got a flavor of its own, kind of like a pine nut popcorn flavor. And this will be another level of flavor that will just really complement those smoked beets that we're working on right now. It doesn't take that long. You know, you just want to toast them for a little bit. You kind of see them starting to smoke. You just keep on turning them. And now they're pretty much nice and golden brown. They got a nice little flavor. Have this great aroma, very aromatic. And now if we want to come back And we want to put them in here. We let them cool down. It's been about 2 hours, and I'm going to go check on those beets and see if they're looking good. Oh yeah, baby. They're good. You can see the smoke. We're getting infused with just a huge smoke bath. The wood chips, the cherry flavors infused with these beets. I'm going to go ahead and pull them off right now. You can usually tell when the beets are ready to go because it's usually nice and tender, like a fork tender, kind of like a baked potato. So what we want to do is go and pull them off. We're going to let them cool down, let them firm back up, and then we're going to be building that salad. Okay, so we're pretty much almost done and getting ready to plate here. Pulled out the beets, and this is the final product. After we peeled them, we let them cool down because they've been in there for so long. We got a nice, beautiful beet. This is where it kind of gets to what kind of mood you're in. You know, I usually like to make these into nice, thin chips or medallions. And right when you know you do a beet right is when it's real fork tender like that. Now you can dice them, you can slice them, you can julienne them, whatever flavor you like. I like to have it like this because this is going to tell my brain this is the main meat of the night. So it kind of gives you that mental feeling that you're eating some kind of... And we're going to go ahead and start building our salad. So once we're done here, we're just going to move this up front. Get our nice plate. I like this beautiful platter right here. We're going to kind of make it family style. Right here is our arugula. What I did with arugula, a lot of people aren't used to, if you have a lot of friends coming over, they're not used to the arugula peppery flavor. I always cut it with something. Today I have some baby spinach in here, and I also have some watercress. So, depending on what time you're going to eat it at, if you say that this is going to be the first entree, you're going to eat it immediately, go ahead and dress it. If not, I like to put the dressing on the side. 2 reasons. Some people like a lot of dressing, some people don't. Depending on the season, these are our pomegranates. These are sun-dried, but you can get the fresh ones too. I kind of like the sun-dried because it brings out the sweetness factor. So we're going to sprinkle a little bit of these on there. Then we're going to get toasted pumpkin seeds, aka pepitas. Then we get our nice little beets on here. And now you have a sweet, savory, smoky flavor. And then I top it off, but last but not least, with a little bit of feta cheese crumbles. And now you have a beautiful salad. And then if you want, you can go and add your vinaigrette to this. Nice citrus vinaigrette. And there you have it. Our arugula cherry smoked beet salad with a grapefruit vinaigrette.